right, good afternoon. Before we get started, I want to introduce the Volusia County Public Safety Director, Randa Matusik, and one of our animal control investigators is Angela Miedema. She's one of the lead investigators in this, and we'll start off by just telling you what a horrific incident this was. You know, last night at about 4:55 p.m., our victim, Michael Millett, 8 years old, was out on his bike with one of his friends, and at the entrance to their subdivision, he stops and goes to pet one of these dogs that's out there, and at that point, Michael is maliciously mauled, brutally mauled and killed at the scene. We are working closely with Animal Control Services. During this investigation, Animal Control took custody of the two dogs that were responsible. We're now awaiting the owner's response of whether to sign the dogs over or whether we have to go to court and fight over how we're going to proceed with this. So it's the beginning stages of an investigation. We are going to do everything humanly possible to hold the owner of these dogs responsible, and we're going to do everything possible to make sure that these animals are destroyed. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Angela, because she's the one who's spearheading what's going on right now. So, Angela?
Hello, everyone. I'm Angela Miedema, the Animal Services Director for Volusia County. And let me start off by saying this is a very rare and a very tragic circumstance that we have today. We were able to gain control of the dogs yesterday in an expeditious manner and humane manner. Unfortunately, the owner has not signed over permission for humane euthanasia at this point, but that may be coming in the near future. The dogs are confiscated and they are under a 10-day quarantine, and the owner has the ability to appeal with due process. It is our responsibility at Animal Services to investigate all concerns of stray animals or aggressive animals in the community, and we strongly encourage anybody who is observing an animal that is stray or observing a nuisance animal or aggressive animal to report it to us or your respective jurisdiction, animal control. That is the only way that we can work on preventing any of these concerns.
I would join in there with Angela in asking anybody in this community who has any information pertaining to these animals or the owner of these animals to please reach out for either animal control or law enforcement. You know, as we went door to door last night, we heard horrific stories of how the dogs are always at large, of how they destroy chickens, and we've gotten some information from another county that there's possible that they were involved in some other type of an incident there in another county. We're following up on that. So I don't need people to be afraid. Right now I need people to come forward and tell us, because there's no 911 calls to Animal Services or to the Sheriff's Office about this address or about these animals. And clearly this just didn't happen in a vacuum. You know, these dogs have been terrorizing the neighborhood for a while and nobody decided to call us. Yeah. I will tell you, the injuries that Michael sustained, and we were there this morning to the autopsy, were just horrific. They were just horrific to what happened to that little boy. And I can tell you, in all my years of policing, to listen to that 911 call and hear Michael's mother in the background when she dove on top of him to stop the attack, screaming, "Somebody help me, my child's not breathing." It strikes to the core of who we are as human beings. So, you know, I can't say enough, and I know Angela and my detectives can't say enough to the family. I don't know where to go to begin, other than the fact that we're going to seek justice for Michael.
Will anything happen to the owner of the dogs?
We are looking, and we're working closely with Animal Services. My detectives are working closely. We are looking, the state attorney has been involved in this from the very beginning. We are looking really hard at making sure the owner is charged. That's the ultimate goal, is to charge her and destroy the animals. That's where we want to go. We're not there right now, but that's where she needs to be held accountable.
Where was the owner when all of this was going on?
She was, go ahead.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure of that information right now.
She was not, from what we understand, she was not on property at the time. She was somewhere else, because when they reached out to her, she wasn't in the area. She had to come to the house.
So the young man attacked.
in his yard? Was he just on his bike? Like,
He was on his bike. If you went out to the crime scene and you go out to the subdivision entrance, there's a bunch of mailboxes there. That's where Michael and his friends encounter the two dogs, and they get off their bikes and they go to pet the dogs, and it goes from a petting and a very friendly encounter to the dogs become very, very, very vicious and very violent.
Presumably they were just roaming around the dogs.
Yes, it does appear, as the detectives have done significant amount of work and significant amount of interviews, that this is a regular appearance for these dogs. They have been previously found to run stray. It's just unfortunate that nobody actually reported it to animal services in this circumstance. And it is a big responsibility. Pet ownership is an enormous responsibility and something that we continue to work and educate on at animal services. It's one of our main priorities, that you have a lot of responsibilities as a dog owner to keep your animal confined to your property and ensure the public's safety, as well as assure things like socialization and training to make sure that this animal is not a threat to anybody else.
You talk about socialization, two dogs next to a child is a non-threatening entity. Dealing with these dogs, can you see any reason why they were trained not to be socialized, or trained not to, or anything along that line, to be aggressive?
Unfortunately, without more information or cooperation from the owner or details into their history, I wouldn't be able to say where their socialization standards were before. They were appearingly freely roaming without an incident prior. But in this circumstance, I wasn't present for the actual incident, so I could not be able to say so. It's pending investigation.
Does the owner have a history?
The owner has a significant history. A lot of it has to do with drugs. She's on supervised weekly drug tests. She's been arrested for possession of meth, for possession of cocaine, for battery, domestic violence, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, attempted aggravated assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill, attempted battery caused bodily harm or disability, cocaine possession, possession of prescription-controlled substances, possession of drug paraphernalia, violation of probation.
Can you explain the process of what happens when a dog attacks someone? In this case, it was fatal, a total tragedy. What has to happen in court if the owner decides it looks like Chief is not cooperating here?
We have to prove negligence as the bottom bar. I'm not a state attorney's office, but I can tell you what animal control and our detectives and the medical examiners doing is right now is number one is every one of his 12 bite wounds have been swabbed for DNA. So we can conclusively say that these two dogs that they have in custody are the dogs responsible for Michael's death. Okay, then we'll move forward with what did she know, what steps did she take? As you heard Angela say, you have a responsibility as a dog owner to make sure that your animals are in a fenced-in property, they're not a danger to anybody else. So all of that has to go on to this. And like I said, we have been in contact with the state attorney since last night to try to walk the ball through here. And for me, like I said, the ultimate goal for me, for the sheriff's office and for animal control is to see that Michael gets justice.
Sheriff, I guess from my understanding, you guys have located the owner, right?
We have located the owner.
And the dogs were found on her property?
Well, she helped to tell you how they even apprehended the dogs.
Yes, so actually, it was the deputies that chased the dog back to the property. So these dogs reacted to their presence and went back to the property. Upon our arrival, they had actually already closed the gate, the deputies did, but that gate was open upon their arrival, so they entered that property. The property is not fully fenced. They had the ability to get out of that property, but we're very experienced in what we do, and we do it quickly and we do it safely to assure the public safety. And we were able to confiscate and hold the animals in a humane manner.
How far was that property from the location where this little boy was attacked?
I don't know exact mileage.
I think it was roughly a half mile from where he was to there. The woman who owns the dogs is Amanda Franco, is who she is.
You said the mom jumped on the child. Did she get injured?
No, and I think that's something we talked about, and Angela could go into that more, was you have this frenzied attack in which Michael was I mean, it was brutal what they did to him, and Mom jumps on him, and the dogs never attack Mom. They never attack any of the kids in the area. They flee from the deputies. I think Angela will tell you how one of them, she was able to coax one of them to come so she could collar it and take it into custody. But there's a 911 caller who is describing everything that's going on to the 911 operator. And she's screaming for somebody to get her gun because she wants to go out there because the dogs won't let Michael go. And then at a point in the background, you hear he's not breathing. You hear this heart-wrenching voice. That's Mom on top of him. He's not breathing. Somebody help me. He's not breathing. Somebody help me. And the dogs are still there, according to the 911 call. The dogs are standing right there while Mom is shielding him and trying to do CPR, bring him back. You know, how many parents last night hugged their kids and kissed them and said, "Good night, I love you." And here we have a mother who's fighting evil and trying to revive her son.
How long did the attack go on for?
The 911 call is probably 10 minutes long. I don't know. I don't know. And maybe Angela can answer that better than I can. But and I'm speculating on the autopsy. I don't think Michael suffered a long time. Some of the wounds were so devastating his neck was broke. So, you know, still, you're 8 years old, and what do you do? You know, at some point in time, his leg was broke. One of his left leg was broke. So I think that even stopped. He couldn't even probably have got up to run if he wanted to. That's just me speculating. And I'll let Angela tell you how she apprehended the dogs.
Yeah. So as you'll see from the body cam footage, we were able to apprehend what we believe is a pit bull terrier, gray and white, and very large in size, probably about 70 pounds. The dog actually came over appearingly in a social seeking manner, came over with wagging tail, comes to high-pitched voices, and I was able to place a leash on it actually initially. And then obviously we used a catch pull for safety measures. And then the other dog, what we believe is a Catahoula or some kind of herding breed mix, was much more difficult. That one took us at least an hour to safely confiscate, and that was us running around the property for a significant period of time. But we were able to actually confiscate them in a quick manner and assure the public safety as well as our first responders' safety, which is my end goal always.
Yeah, ma'am, so you believe that one dog started the attack and the other one joined in there?
It's hard to see right now. We actually brought in a dog bite related fatality expert, and he's currently working with the medical examiner to try to see if the evidence gives us that information.
What is your message to the community, obviously the neighbors there and the parents of Michael are completely devastated?
My message is that there's a lot of responsibility when you are a pet owner. You have a responsibility to ensure the public safety, a responsibility to that animal, a responsibility to make sure that animal is being cared for, tended for, and raised right, the same way we do kids. It's a responsibility, even if you don't have an animal, to say something if you see something, to let us know if you're seeing animals running loose. That is what we do. If there's a bite incident, to make us aware. If these animals had killed any other animals or any kind of pre-indicators that we could go off of, let us know the information so that we can do our jobs and investigate.
I think what Angela said is something that people should really take to heart, is that while this is a rarity and it's a horrific tragedy, when you do see those stray animals out there, you don't know, and you need to call us. You just can't assume, well, it's a dog, it looks friendly, I'm gonna just ignore it, and in reality, you know, something horrific can happen here.
Did you talk to the owner of the dog? I mean, is there a reason why she's not forfeiting the dogs, knowing what happened?
I can't speculate as to why.
I
she
would tell
hasn't
you, being
forfeited.
arrested 9 times, she's pretty well versed in invoking her Fifth Amendment rights. I mean, I think she knew right then and there. She lawyered up immediately. She knows what's coming down.
As far as charges, how severe, I mean, is negligent homicide?
That's obviously, the investigation will bear that out, and the state attorney will make that determination. And I'm not the state attorney here. I'm just spitballing this and saying, at least I think we have negligence now. It's a negligent homicide right now. Certainly wasn't premeditated. She certainly didn't mean, but the fact, as you heard Angela say, you know, you're a responsible dog owner, a responsible animal owner, you have to have your animal fenced in, your animal can't be running at large. That's why it's so important for the community to come forward so we can show a pattern to the state attorney that, hey, so-and-so had their chickens killed, so-and-so was chased down the street by these dogs, you know, so-and-so's animal was killed or injured by that, because you have to, you just can't pull it out of air right now out of emotion and say, yeah, here's what we want to do. We want to get the facts right. We want to make sure that Michael gets justice and Michael's family gets justice, and she's held accountable for this horrific act.
Do you know anything on Michael's friend? Because I know it was him that tried to find the dog. Did the friends try to do that?
I can't answer that. I don't know any of that. I know that the detectives have spoken to everybody in the neighborhood to get a picture of it. It's again, you know, and Angela was there. It is horrific. I just cannot imagine a mother being out there when this went down, and then to see the end result. I mean, he never had a chance. He never, ever, ever had a chance.
What did you say? She said because the mom kind of went over him.
She dove, according to the 911 caller, the 911 caller is on the phone describing everything. She talks about, oh my God, it's his mother. She's covering, she's laying on top of him, and you could hear her screaming, the mother screaming, he's not breathing, please somebody help me. And the 911 caller is on the phone saying, and the dogs are right there. And she's screaming at people, get away, they just attacked somebody, they're going to attack you, get away. And she's screaming for somebody in her house to get her gun. And she's telling the 911 operator, I'm going to go out there and shoot these dogs before they do this to somebody else.
So preliminarily at this point, you guys are aware that the little boy tried to pet the dog's just, no aggressive action or anything?
From what the detectives have gathered is that the little boys are out riding the bike, they see the dogs out by the mailboxes, and they get off their bike and they start petting the dog. And at no point in time was there any indication that they were going to attack. And then, like a light switch went off, then they went right into attack mode. And from the bite wounds, both dogs were attacking him. You know, who you want to assign more bites to, they'll determine that later on. But he significantly was attacked, and he was attacked by both. You want Angela to spell her name for you guys?
Yes, please.
It's common spelling, right?
For Miedema. Angela, Angela, last name Miedema, Miedema.
I will close with this. In my time as police chief and sheriff, we've always had a good relationship with animal control. But under our new public safety director and our new animal control director, the residents of Volusia County can rest assured they have an extremely professional, well-trained group of men and women that are working there. And the fact that they were out there very quickly, they were engaged in this entire investigation, working closely with our investigators, that means a lot. You know, we were out there on December 5th, or they were out there on December 5th, but for a different call, because we had information that you guys were out there before and you didn't do anything. That's not true. So shut down the rumor mill. They were out there on December 5th. It had something to do with a completely different animal, not these two animals. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Of who? Oh, Franco, and Amanda is Amanda, Amanda. She goes by the middle name of Bailey.
Do you have a date of birth for her?
Her date of birth is, I just looked at that and figured that out a minute ago. Seven 2 of 1993. All right, you guys good? All right.